Thank you. Ta. Hello. Well, it's Colin here, bloody again, and a new video. I haven't put on videos for a while. This is about my 25th video, yes, it's about my 25th video. So keep in touch with my other videos if you can. It's very important that that you do this. Now, I want to discuss with you something interesting today. It's this, is that scientists and physics have found a black hole in the universe. Although it's 55 million light years away from Earth, its suction can even suck light into it and twist and bend light in an unreal way. Now, it's about 55 million light years away, and they're huge things. Now, I don't know whether they as big as one planet that's so big out there that it's like a golf ball on the state of Texas, Earth being a golf ball on the state of Texas, and about 3 to 6 feet deep as well. Now, the interesting thing that I wanted to convey about this, was that it said that this black hole will eventually swallow Earth. And not only do they bend and twist light and suck in light, but what shall I say? I was going to say suck in light. Something I was going to say there. Nothing to suck in light. But time, that's right. Time is hindered or even stopped. They actually stop time. Now, basically, I would like to know how time can be stopped, because if someone said, well, how long has time been stopped for? And you said, well, over a quarter of an hour now, time's been stopped. So time goes on all the time, and I can't see how time can be stopped as such, because you're in non-existence. It's different. You don't know anything. But maybe we're on this planet. Maybe we are lowered in existence, lowered to think that we're just based on time. But on the other side, there might not be anything such as time. But still, I still can't see the difference, though, because even if you get on the other side and say, well, time's nothing, well, how long have we been here, and kind of thing. Now, I'll show you this black hole here, if you can find it. It's like a donut. Hang on. It's like a donut, if you can see it there. Yes, it's like a donut, and you might better take a photograph of it, but the thing that I wanted to stress particularly is that eventually it's going to swallow us up into Earth. Now, what I wanted to stress is on my videos, what can happen. It's like this. It's like this. Supposing that this black hole was going to swallow the Earth up in 25 years, say. The astronomers have worked it out. It's getting very close. In fact, as I might have mentioned to you just now on the news, it was actually said that this black hole is actually much closer to Earth than what they thought. Now, so just supposing that the astronomers and that they said that this black hole will be will destroy, will suck the Earth in 25 years, say. So 20 years after that, they still hadn't found a way of solving the problem. Christians were praying, but nothing was happening. In fact, there was a suction in the last 5 years. There was a suction. People couldn't walk properly in the street because there was a suction somehow, and they managed to walk, but only just. The suction was there, and so as a result, women were literally screaming in the street in terror because they know we've only got 5 years left, and the suction is already proving that that we're doomed, because it said eventually it's going to swallow the Earth. So there we are. We have 5 years to go. Now, the simple way to solve the problem is very simple. And it's like this. I've mentioned before about these things, but it's worthwhile mentioning them again, because it reinforces it. It reinforces it, the message that you're given. Recapping is the word I'm looking for. You got to keep recapping all the time. You can go too far one way and too far the other. For example, I could put on a video, and the very next video, I repeat about 75% of what I said in my first video. Then that's too far one way, because people could say, "Oh, I heard all that in the previous video." And they could get sick of me. Don't bother listening, perhaps. But so that's too far one way. Then if you produced 100 videos and you didn't repeat anything, you didn't recap anything, then it's too far the other way. So you see, you really need to keep recapping on an issue, because it sort of endorses it. It's like a pen, paper. You put, say, a pencil mark across a piece of paper. So you can rub that out with a rubber. But if you went over that same line again, it'd be harder to erase. And eventually, if you kept going over the same line, you'd go right through the paper. So it does recap. When you recap, it sort of strengthens the situation somehow. But a balance is required there. So anyway, there's 2 or 3 things that I've mentioned before in videos, but I want to mention them again in relation to this black hole that's going to swallow the Earth eventually. They didn't say when, though. So maybe we could find out maybe you could find out on the internet, on smartphone. Scientists in London, is it? Or Sweden, is it? Hang on, I can't see. Hang on. Yes, it's Sweden actually. I didn't realise it. Sweden. So if you could find out from a black hole, where this black hole found in Sweden, it's a black hole that's 55 million light years away, but it's going to eventually suck the Earth in. We're all going to die of suffocation. So anyway, then I've mentioned 2 or 3 things in the past, and I'll recap them again because of the situation here. Now, we're looking, say, at New Zealand, and I've mentioned New Zealand before, but we're recapping here. Darwin was heavily bombed, I believe, by the Japanese in the Second World War. But there was at one stage that the Japanese were going to start bombing New Zealand. Now that's the way they work in war, they want another country, they start bombing it, and preparation. It's a silly way of going about it, I know. Easy way to solve wars, take over a country without bombing. But anyway, we'll leave that behind. I don't want Mr. Putin to know anything like this either, because he's a warmonger, and I wouldn't want Mr. Putin from Russia to know anything, get any ideas. So anyway, then we'll move on then to New Zealand. The Japanese were going to start bombing New Zealand. Now, this probably would have been done by one or more carriers, probably, because unless there's some island that they could hop from, but then they'd need an airstrip to do that. The carriers don't need much of an airstrip because they just fly off the carrier. So it's just a short distance. So they wouldn't need much, but it'd probably be done by a carrier or carriers. So anyway, the Christians took the old town hall in Wellington. It's still up, they're strengthening it at the moment. I thought they were pulling it down actually because there's brick exposed, but no, I asked one of the workers and no, they're just strengthening it. So that same, that same town hall is still up. Now, so Christians took the town hall and they prayed that God would stop the Japanese from coming to New Zealand. Now, this is probably a New Zealand-wide effort. I was going to ask the smartphone, but I've never got that far, but it quite likely was a New Zealand-wide effort. And so what actually happened was, was that bad weather came and stopped the bombing of New Zealand. Now, you might say to me, and I'll full and heartily agree with you, 100% I'll agree with you on this. If an atheist or somebody said to me, look, bad weather can come just as easy as good weather. As 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other. You've got good weather, you've got bad weather. It was just bad weather came. It's 50-50 kind of thing, and bad weather just came. And as I say, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Though bad weather is not always bad weather as such. I mean, we need the rain from the south as much as we do from the north, unless we get too much in that. But some of the rain, of course, comes from the south. So we need the rain, but we don't need cold winds and that. So anyway, okay, then we've got bad weather came, so we'll call it bad weather. So okay, then now, but what happened after the bad weather stopped? They didn't pursue their objective, which was bombing New Zealand. Now, you see, when they make plans in war and they're hindered by the weather for 2 or 3 days or so, they don't just scrap the idea altogether, scrap the bloody thing. I mean, they just wait till the bad weather's off, but they did make a big mistake in I haven't got time to go into this, but a big mistake at D-Day. They needed full moon for D-Day, and there was the weather forecast was that there's to be 2 fronts, but there was to be a break between 2 fronts, and so they chose that. But how could they get full moon on that? They probably were too much in a hurry. Maybe General Eisenhower was the one who gave the order, but I never would have given the order because there was no break between those 2 fronts, and men drowned in the D-Day because they're probably too impatient. They just couldn't wait. So the weather, so the weather plays a big part, but it just doesn't stop them. They'll just wait. They should have waited longer until it cleared up. And should have never have had ordered. I would have never ordered D-Day in a situation where there was bad weather about like that. I mean, my men, I've got the responsibility of my men going in like this, and I've got to pick safeguards, and I would have never gave the order. But anyway, that's another question. So anyway, getting back to New Zealand then. So if New Zealand had been bombed, it depends on how many sorties they sent over. If they had to start bombing Wellington, then Courtenay Place, just a moment, Lambton Quay in Wellington and Featherston Street might have been heavily bombed, and Willis Street and Romance Street, to be formerly known as Courtenay Place, to be heavily bombed too. They might have even been fairly well flattened. Maybe, we don't know how many sorties they would have sent or what, but there was to be bombing New Zealand. But you see, bad weather, when it came right, they didn't bomb. Why? Divine intervention saved New Zealand. See, did I mention to you just earlier on that, I don't think I did that, in Wales there was, they've had 3 or 4 major revivals in Wales. The last one was 1904 under Ewan Roberts, and I think that was the one that spread to the coal miners in New Zealand. Where are we now? Yes, that's right. In one of those revivals, it was said that God answers all prayer, he listens to all prayer, but he particularly blesses all prayer, but he particularly blesses cooperative prayer. So it was significant, you see, that New Zealand, Town Hall in Wellington anyway, got together and interceded that the Japanese wouldn't come to New Zealand. Now, there's another one that I mentioned before, was Cali. Now, Cali is the 3rd biggest city in Colombia, and the dope trade there was incredible. It infiltrated everywhere, and infiltrated even into the police. And you think that the police would be there to do the opposite, but it actually infiltrated lawyers, doctors, nurses, everything. It infiltrated everywhere in Cali. So much so that people in Cali were frightened to death. Well, I don't know about frightened to death, but they were frightened, lived in fear of this drug trade. And there'd never be a weekend go by without drug-related murders in Cali, or that would be sort of, as it were, kind of more than impossible for that to happen. So anyway, what happened was the Christians finally decided to take the bull by the horns. So what they did is they took a stadium there on a Friday night for an all-night prayer meeting about this bloody drug shit in Cali, you know. So what happened was, in that weekend, so that went on to the early Saturday morning, because it was Friday night, so it went into early in Saturday morning. Would it be if it's Friday night? Yes, it would probably go into Saturday. If it's Friday night, that means unless they finished at midnight. So anyway, what happened was a miracle happened, in that there was no drug-related murders in Cali that weekend. And as I say, that was utterly impossible, more than impossible kind of thing. So a miracle there happened, again through concentrated prayer. A similar thing happened in South Korea. The president of South Korea was very nervous, almost as it were shaking at the knees, because he didn't think that the infiltration, they're about to stop the North from infiltrating. And so he summoned Yonggi Cho to come about this problem. Yonggi Cho had the biggest church in the entire world at the time, about 600,000. His books are great stuff, Yonggi Cho from Seoul. Anyway, we haven't got time to go into that. So we're looking now at he was a prominent man in South Korea. It was Yonggi Cho. So Yonggi Cho told the president that he would get 1 million praying people, and so I think from memory he just got about 600,000 praying people, and they did something. I forgot exactly what they did from one of his books. Any books by Yonggi Cho, just grab them if you can. See if you can find them on the smartphone. Yonggi Cho from Seoul. Any books on Yonggi Cho still in print. And anyway, it stopped. This infiltration thing, it stopped. And then there was one other one, was the Olympic Games in in Seoul back about probably 70s or so, maybe 80s. There was the Olympic Games held in Seoul, I think it was, or in South Korea, probably Seoul. And there was to be expected anarchy in that expected, I've forgotten exactly what it was, but expected more than just trouble, expected a big disruption and that sort of thing. We can't exactly remember the story completely. So in this one, what they did is they got less people, but they walked around the stadium and claimed protection and that for the Olympic Games. And so the expected problem for the Olympic Games in Seoul didn't happen. See, we're looking at united prayer, what we're talking about, you see. See, if you had 1 million praying people who prayed on their own, it could be blessed. But if you got those same 1 million people taking stadiums and crying out to God for help, then it makes a big difference. See, He blesses all prayer, but God particularly blesses cooperative prayer. He doesn't want disunity. For example, in Palmerston North here in Palmy, we had a church there that a friend of mine who's a pastor was telling me about it. They had this church and they split on doctrine. Some believed one way, some believed the other. So the church was split. One half went one way, one went the other. Now that's the sort of thing that God does not bless. He does not bless disunity. He wants unity. He understands that people can't believe the same things. It's not the problem. But the problem is this: we should be saying, if we can't be one in doctrine, let's be one in spirit. And that's what we should be doing. We won't agree, sure, but shake hands and say, say today? They say agree to disagree. That's right, to agree to disagree. So that's what's required. So when you sort of come together in a stadium, you sort of unite together, and that's unity. And that's what God blesses, is unity. They've taken a stadium, and He'll intervene. Now, so getting back to this black hole before I haven't got much time left, so I better get on to what I was saying. Now, so what they do is they take stadiums, and we've got, what have we got now? We've got 5 years left before we're sucked into this black hole. It's going to come eventually, but this can stop it. But what do they mean by eventually? You know, in space and that, it could mean over 1,000 years or something. So we don't know. But as it's in Sweden, so you might be able to find it on the smartphone. I might look up myself on a smartphone and find it. So anyway, so the simple answer then is that we've got 5 years left. The suction is there. Women are screaming from terror, and men are crying out too, and we're going to be sucked into this black hole. Remember, time even stops, whatever that's supposed to mean. Now, so all we've got to do is just take stadiums throughout the world, and we agree together on what we're going to pray for, and what we want. We've got to be specific. I mentioned about how much time have I got here. Oh, I could have mentioned one, perhaps Yonggi Cho. Again, he wanted a chair, desk, and a bicycle. So one day what shall I say? He got pissed off with the whole thing, and he said to God one day. He came in. He didn't even have a desk. He didn't. He had a room, I think, but I don't think he even had a bed. And he got pissed off, and he said to God this day, look, he said, I've asked you for it. He asked you, God, he wanted a chair, desk, and a bicycle. That's right. And he didn't get these things. And so he had it out with God. Look, how can I do your work without these things? And so he felt God was going to speak to him. So either then or later on, God spoke and says, fuck me dead, you sick cunt. Look, people demand of me this and that, but they don't tell me exactly what they want. Don't you know, you sick cunt, that there's dozens of different kinds of chairs, desks and bicycles are bloody round, you sick cunt. Fuck me dead. You didn't ask me what kind of chair, desk and bicycle you wanted, you sick cunt. So anyway, he got specific, and he figured that the US bikes were stronger than the Korean ones. So he got one. It was virtually a brand new one, just slightly used. So it's just like as if it's been out on trial, sort of thing. Somebody taking it for a ride, just to see what it's like, sort of thing. So it was a new one, and he got a desk, something from mahogany, somewhere, and then he got the chair he wanted, which is one that rolls around the room. You know, those with the steel wheels, and they just roll around the room. You don't have to get out of the chair. So he wanted one of those. So he got those from the Mitsubishi company. I think he got one, and the mahogany desk or something. So then he got what he wanted. And then one day he said a woman came to him and wanted a husband. So he asked her what kind of husband she wanted, and one thing she wanted a slim cunt, and she didn't want a fat cunt, and she wanted a school teacher. So anyway, Yonggi Cho told her to so hold on to that, to the effect morning and evening, and so she did that apparently. And I'm not quite sure what she told her to do, actually, whether to give thanks. If she told her to give thanks, that would be good. But anyway, about a year later, a slim cunt came to their church for a singing revival, and he, what shall I say, he was a teacher, he was a school teacher. He was a music teacher, that's right, he was a music teacher from the school, that's right. And so all the girls were crazy about this sick cunt, this slim cunt, he's slim. Maybe in Korea they were a lot of overweight people, perhaps not, but Yonggi Cho himself was overweight. So anyway, they were all crazy about this cunt, but he wasn't interested in any of these girls. Somehow, but he somehow got hooked onto this woman who had been looking at him, who had been holding this husband thing for a year. And they'd only known each other for about a week, I believed, and they got engaged, and the wedding was already over before Yonggi Cho had heard about it. So I said, I think I just, how much time have I got? Oh, cool. Oh dear, I've got no time left here. I must finish now. So I must say then, I was watching that time, so I'll just try and keep it in the half an hour. So therefore then, the answer is simply to take stadiums around the world, if there's black hole, and then an all-night prayer meeting or something or whatever, or all day, and all claim together, we're going to ask God to dissolve this black hole and finish. And so that would happen under the secret, if it's done properly, that would happen. The black hole would be dissolved, and astronomers would look through and find out, well, where is this black hole? It's gone. What happened to it? God just dissolved it. He can just, no matter how big it is, he can just dissolve it. And there's a planet around the world that's so big, it's like Earth being a golf ball on the state of Texas, and about 3 to 6 miles, about 3 to 6 feet deep as well. And just like a golf ball on the state of Texas being Earth, that's how big it is. So maybe these black holes are that big, or bigger or smaller, I don't know. But anyway, the suction went as also, and so people knew that they were saved by power of God, by united prayer, stadium kind of prayer. I must close. It's it's half an hour now about. So I'll put on another video about giving thanks about this, because this is very important, a thanks side of it. So I'll close now. I think I've been it's 29 minutes, I think, or 27 or something. So I must close now. So I'll put on another video, and hopefully, and we'll just carry on, because this stadium thing can work for other things as well. So anyway, I must close then. So bye for now. This is Colin signing off. Now I'll put on another video. So bye for now. Bye.